Dr. Sahasra Buddhe is Indian Council for Cultural Relationship. He is heading, an ex-member of Parliament. He has also served as the chairman of the Parliament Standing Committee on Education, Women, Children, Youth and Sports. May now request Dr. Ravindra Pant, Director IBC, to kindly felicitate our moderator and the team for the second session. Dr. Ravindra Pant. Professor Sunaina Singh, the moderator for this session. Dr. Sahasra Buddhe, President, Indian Council for Cultural Relationship. Then we have Dr. Sarah Kim Gurezmisher. Dr. Bibhav Kumar Talukdar from India. Dr. Barbara Mas. Before we hand over to our moderator for this session, a word about our moderator, Professor Sunaina Singh. A most prominent leaders in higher education in the South Asian region. She is presently the Vice Chancellor of illustrious Nalanda University, a globally acclaimed historical university with the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Professor Singh is also engaged with the challenging task of rebuilding the renowned ancient Nalanda University. The Oxford Union has conferred honorary professorship in 2020 in recognition of her contribution in promoting Indian higher education and culture. She is also the recipient of several prestigious awards. Ambassador for Peace, Universal Peace Federation 2022, Leadership for Net Zero Endeavor Award 2022 by Indo-American Green University Network. We are indeed honored to have you on the stage, ma'am. I'll request you to commence the session.
We have a very interesting session, and I think it's a natural culmination of what has been happening since morning. And our Honorable Prime Minister did touch upon the environmental crisis that seems to be looming large. It's a challenge that all of us collectively countries need to come together to deal with the new crisis that seem to be emerging. What is the solution for the environmental crisis? I think that's where it leads us to the Buddha mark. You know, the Four Noble Truths and the Ashtang mark, the eightfold path that he has directed us towards. In very simple terms, it shows us the way to move forward and perhaps be mindful of what we have lost in the process of trying to evolve ourselves materialistically and develop as societies and as nations. We have a preeminent duty to respect nature, to respect other beings. This particular session becomes so very important. I have 4 speakers in this session, and we have about 10 minutes for each one of them. And I hope we 20 minutes? Is it? Sorry about that. 20 minutes for each one of them. No, you can breathe easy. This is a session about sustainability, so we'll take care of sustainable time measures as well.
Доктортой хөгжлийн талаар ярилцголно.
Before we get into the paper reading, I just wanted to dwell on what is happening in the contemporary world where we
Орчин үеийн дэлхийд дахинд юу болж байна вэ?
sitting on a time that is quite incongruous and beyond the human corrections. And that is where India plays a very humongous role, because India has been seen as a solution center by the world.
Энэтхэг одоо шийдэл төвтэй улс гэж үздэг.
The sages who have been talking about India and the visitors who've been coming since Nalanda days.
Наландагийн үеэс эрдэмтэд за сүсгтнүүдтэйгээ ингээ ярилцж байсан.
And that's where I generally say that wherever Buddha traversed, seeds of knowledge and harmony grew. And that is the bottom line of how we need to revisit and look at the role that Buddha played and continues to play for us today. One of the doctrines, preeminent philosophical doctrine is Pratitya Samutpada, which talks about principle of dependent origination. Where we are talking about how it is important to be interdependent, how we need to depend on all the organisms, how we need to
хоорондоо шүтэлцээтэй байх вэ? Шүтэн барилгатай байх вэ?
Is something that we are looking at, in the globe today, where the nations are
өнөө үед бид дэлхийд дахинд үүнийг судалж байна.
Given the pandemic that we thought we left behind, but it still seems to be lurking around the corner. So we don't know what's going to happen about that, which means that the epidemiology becomes a very important subject, and we need to be mindful of that. And then the floods, recent floods, or deforestation,
саяхны үеэр
цөлжилт. Look at the coral reefs that are dying across the seas. The pollution, the inability to handle waste, be it solid or any otherwise. We find that challenges to deal with. The climate conditions are beyond any environmental. Think before time. We need to have solutions. We need to look at the issues that may help us. What would be the way forward that would help us? And that is where Dhamma is so very important, and Dharma and Dham that we look at, it also gives us, it channelizes, it purifies the mind, it tells us about the value system. And that's where resonates, the environmental and sustainability issues that we need to be mindful. What I have done at now, we have created acres, catering to about 2,000 people, 200 buildings, and probably the world's largest campus that looks at sustainability and net zero in a holistic fashion. What actually inspired our own Atharva Ved, which goes with Buddha's philosophy also. There is Bhumi Sukt in Atharva Ved, which has 63 sukt, which are so relevant to today's crisis management. What Buddha has said and the sukts in Atharva Ved, I think одоогийн үнэт цагийн асуудлыг шийдвэрлэхэд чухал ач холбогдолтой юм. Participants were going to look at Buddha Dhamma and how we need to look at various organisms per se, where the wild plants may be dying to 40% of the world, 83% of mammals are dead. So there is, statistical
Олон
evidence
зэрлэг
how
амьд
the
тусдж
world
байна.
is gradually losing other beings, organisms. I think we need to take care of that, and I have my
Бид
participants here
бусад амьтад
who will
бусад
be talking
организмуудыг
about it, and may I
хайрлан хамгаалах
start
хэрэгтэй.
with Barbara Maas. She is Secretary Environment and Conservation. IBC,
Barbara,
and
Dr.
founder and
Barbara
chief
Maas.
executive, People for Nature and Peace, Germany.
За байгаль болон инх тайвны
May I invite
төвийн тэргүүн.
Yeah.
Thank you, all of you, for being here today with this issue.
Та бүхнийг энэ зуран
Strikes
цуулсанд баярлж
at the
байна.
very heart of what it means to be human and how to survive as a human being.
Хэрхэн хүн болох вэ? Хэрхэн тисчүүлдэх вэ?
Right out into the universe with you to tell you just how special the world is.
За энэ хүү зурагнаас дэлхийн ертөнц ямар онцгой юм бэ гэдгийг та нар харж болно.
In the universe. And there are over 320 suns with orbiting planets in our home galaxy.
320 гар эрхсүүд байна.
Imagine 320 million suns. So this is where we are.
За энд бид нар байна.
System is. And this little planet stands out. Why? It stands out because it's the only one
Энэ хүү жижиг гариг яагаад онцгойрдог вэ?
with life. It has life. And life
Зөвхөн
is
энэ
something
энэ
very
ихтлэхэд
rare and very
амьдрал
precious
бий.
and very unique so far that we know about. So
Үүгээрээ
this is a
онцгойрдог
special
юм.
place that is our home. But what have we done to it?
За бид гэхдээ
This is a
ихтлэхэд юу
graph
хийж
that
байна вэ?
shows the growth of human populations since 10,000
За энэ хүн амын өсөлтийг харуулж байна. Дэлхийн хүн
And
амын
you can
өсөлт.
see that for millions, for thousands of years, the population was more or less stable. I have placed the Buddha at the time that he was born.
За энд ингэ бурхан багшийн
And you can see that around,
дүрс байна.
about 50s, 70s, 1950s, 70s, things have started to change dramatically. And this is a
1950 оноос хойш за дэлхийд дахинд огцом өөрчлөлт гарсан.
at 8 billion, and we're projected to grow to 10 billion.
За бид 10 тэрбум болж өснө гэсэн төлөв байна.
Humans made up 1% of the mammalian biomass of this planet. And wild animals
Дэлхийд
made up
дахинд 99%
99%
зэрлэг
of the
амьтад 1%
global mammal biomass.
хүн байсан.
Today, and this
Одоо
is a
орчин
paper
үед
that just came out in February this year.
за
There is
энэ
an
2 сард
enormous
гарсан судалгаа.
mismatch. We have elbowed everything off the face of the earth. So wild mammals now make up 1.9%
Зэрлэг амьтад
of global mammalian biomass and
дэлхийн сүүн тэжээлтний биомассын 1.9%-ийг бүрдүүлж байна.
over a 98%. 98%.
Харин хүн төрөлхтөн 98.1%-ийг бүрдүүлж байна.
So you can see wildland mammals make up 22 billion tons. Marine mammals make up 40 million tons.
За газрын сүүн тэжээлтнүүд 22 сая тонн,
90 million tons of body
далайн сүүн тэжээлтнүүд 40 сая тонн, хүн төрөлхтөн 390 сая тонн,
million tons.
мал аж ахуй 630 сая
Cannot be
ам тонн.
without effect. So this is what it looks like, the distribution of this from the paper by Greenspoon et al. You can see
За Гринспүүний
we
судалгаар
have literally marginalized wild mammals at sea and on land, and this is a global planetary takeover, and that will have consequences. So if you just look at the mass of pigs alone,
за
there is
зөвхөн гахаан массыг
almost
харуул.
twice as many mass of pigs than there are wild
За
mammals.
тэжээвэр
on
гахаанууд
Earth. That is madness.
40 сая тонныг
Sustainability is nowhere near
Би
it.
олж байна.
We're doing something very wrong. And as a result of this, I talked of consequences. Human activities have already damaged about 3/4
За дэлхийд дахин хүн төрөлхтний
of the
нөлөө.
lands of the
За хүн
earth,
төрөлхтний үйл ажиллагаа нь
and about 2/3
газрын
of the oceans.
75%, 70-66% өөрчлөлт өрсөн байна.
We don't just take up space. So we also, these people,
За
if you look at
1950 оноос хойш хүн
1950s,
төрөлхтөн
the human
3
population
дахин
has
өссөн.
really tripled in a very short time
Маш
between
богино хугацаанд өссөн байна.
1950 and 2023, tripled. In my lifetime, more than doubled. So that means we need more fuel, more food, more energy, more
Ингэснээр биднэрт
water.
илүү их энерги, хоол хүнс
And we
шаардлагатай
also
байна.
need to produce more materials that we need to live, more houses, more
Бид
planes,
илүү их байшин
more
барилга
cups,
барьж
more bed
амьдрах
linen,
хэрэгтэй.
and all of that needs
Амьдрах
to
хэрэгцээ
come
гарч
from
байна.
somewhere. The effect is that extinction levels, which are currently over 1,000 times higher than background extinction, have rapidly increased in tandem with human population growth, as you can see here. And the professor from Nalanda has spoken about the impact of
За
climate
Наландагийн
change
профессор
and
за
others.
хүн төрөлхтний одоо үр нөлөөний талаар ярьсан. За энэхүү сүрлийн загвал 5 хүч
has looked at the order of magnitude of impact that different factors have. What are the key drivers of the destruction of our planet's nature that we need to survive?
байгалыг юу
It's not
сүтгэж
one of
байна вэ?
It's our life support system. So the first one is that we are converting land
За эхнийх нь
and sea
газар
for
болон
our
далайн
use for agricultural land,
хэрэглээний
for
өөрчлөлт.
settlement. The second biggest one is direct exploitation. And then climate
Дараагийнх нь за шууд агаар одоо мүлжлөг хийх ашиглах.
is almost forgotten. Not many people apart from experts are talking about it. Then there is pollution and there is our
Цагаурын
invasive
өөрчлөлт,
species that
бохирдол,
are moved around.
хортон
So
шавж.
we're dealing with an interrelated global crisis, a multi-crisis of climate, biodiversity loss, and related, as we will
дэлхийн
hear from
дахны
Dr.
за хямрал,
Kurtzbauer very soon, related to this,
цагаурын
the
хямрал,
pandemic and the
за
development of diseases. Around the world, since 1970 to 2020,
1970-аас 2020 оны хооронд
domestic product has risen.
за дотоодын нийт
You can
бүтээгдэхүүн
see here, world is the dotted line worldwide. Developed countries are blue or
за
purple.
хөгжиж байгаа олон
Developing countries
хөгжсөн
are
болон
orange,
хөгжихгүй
and
орнуудад
least developed countries are red. But you can see a trend that is showing. And the extraction of living biomass is shown on the right-hand side. So in a short time, 50 years,
за биомассын сүлийг
we
тань
are
бүхэн графикаас харж харах боломжтой.
removing living beings from the biosphere for our use. As a result of this, roughly 1 billion species face
За үүний үр
extinction
дүнд
today. And the
1
rate of
сая
this loss is
төрлийн
entirely
амьтад одоо хоордох
unprecedented
эрсдэлтэй
throughout
байна.
human history. It is also accelerating. And if we want to do something about it, we need to implement a fundamental shift in how we relate to nature and other beings. We need to change.
Бид
If we
яаралтай
continue
арга хэмжээ авах
to do
хэрэгтэй.
What we're doing, it's like a chain smoker who has lung cancer, continues to smoke, he will die. We are on death row.
Жишээ нь тамхи татаад байвал нэг уушгины өвчнөөр
We're flipping the switch
за насаас
ourselves.
гарах эрсдэлтэй.
I would like to focus mainly on the biodiversity crisis and with an exploitation of wildlife.
За зэрлэг амьтдын хууль бус худалдаа талаар ярив.
$220 billion a year.
За хууль ёсны худалдаа жилд 220 тэрбум долларын эргэлттэй байна.
Legally without any restrictions.
За хууль бус худалдаанд 7-аас 23 тэрбум долларын эргэлт байна. 1980 оноос хойш 2000 гаруй хувиар өссөн байна.
Or as ornaments. Then there is the illegal underground trade. That's worth between 7 and 23 billion and has risen by 2,000% since 1980. 2,000%. Nearly a quarter of all wild land vertebrates, that's animals with a backbone, so reptiles, amphibians, mammals.
Тэгээд зэрлэг сэр нуруутай амьтад нь амьтын 24%-ийг дэлхийд дахинд худалдааж наймаалж байна.
So are traded worldwide. Nearly a quarter of the species, but the number of individuals is immeasurable. And the suffering that goes along with it, I don't have to explain to you. And interestingly,
тооцоонд ороогүй хууль бус судалтай маш их байгаа.
And the exploitation drive, pandemic risk, and we will hear from shortly about how that works.
Хямралын цар тахлыг очих эрсдэлтэй.
What can we do?
Бид юу хийж
чадах вэ? Message of respect and reverence for all life.
Бусад их болсон 6 зүйл хамаг амьтдыг хайрлан хамгаалах хэрэгтэй гэж айлдсан байдаг.
For all life, from insects to elephants to rhinos to
шавж, зан,
dogs to whatever.
нохоо зэрэг ямар ч амьтдад бид инэрэнгуй хандах хэрэгтэй.
Relevant. We understand as Buddhists the principle of universal interconnectedness.
Бид буддистууд шүтэн байрлалын талаар ойлгож мэддэг.
This is the way it is. We may not like it, but that is the way it is.
Бидэнд энэ бүхэн таалагдахгүй ч гэсэн бид энэ зарчмыг баримтлах хэрэгтэй.
And we are facing in large extent the consequences right now already. And of course the principle of impermanence, that everything changes. The world is changing around us.
Мөнх усын сургаал байна. Бүх зүйл өөрчлөгддөг.
It doesn't look very good for us. So using the principle of the Buddha's teaching, the Dharma, to catalyze transformative change makes the role of spiritual leaders in this healing process for our planet and for our own dysfunctional minds very important.
Энэ бүх сургаалыг хэрэгжүүлэхэд за шашны удирдагчид бас гол үүрэг гүйцэтгэнэ.
Beyond our biological program in our mind, and it's the biggest challenge our species has ever faced.
За энэ бүхэн манай хүн төрөлхтний учирч байгаа томоохон бэрхшээл юм.
It's nothing less than being at war with it. We need to move from this idea of supremacy, that everything, the world is about us. It's all about us.
Хүн төрөлхтөн бид зөвхөн өөрсдөө бодож болохгүй.
We need to move from this